You can hate the game, you can love the game, or maybe you have a very strange love-hate relationship with the game. But regardless of what you think of it, it is very hard to deny that The Division has issues. Many of those issues lie within certain skills, talents, weapons, or gear items simply being too strong or too weak. And another good chunk of those issues lie within the bugs that this game still has. I want to talk about both of these, but today I will only be focusing on the latter one. Some of you that have been following this channel for a little bit longer might be able to remember that back with patch 1.3 I made a complete list of the most annoying, consistently reproducible bugs in the game and put them together into one video so that Massive could take a look at it, see what is broken, see how it is broken, and also, most importantly, how to fix it. Whether that video had a big part in it or not, come patch 1.4, most of the issues listed in that video had been fixed. However, right now it is patch 1.6.1 and the game has gone through a lot of changes since. As a result, many new bugs have been introduced with those changes, so in this video I will be going over the biggest and the most annoying bugs step by step and how to reproduce them so that hopefully Massive can address most of these things just like they did with patch 1.4. And also so that until the time that they fix it, everybody who watches this video is aware of these things and will be able to play around them to avoid sticky situations where you died because something wasn't working properly. That's always annoying, so let's begin. When a player is in the middle of being revived by either another player or a support station, and another player shoots a defibrillator first aid, the instant revive on the first aid will not work. The support station heals for a lot less health per second than intended. If you look closely at your health bar, you can see that the healing rate is very inconsistent. The support station skips seconds of healing everywhere. To prove to you that this is actually happening, you can see that my character here has roughly 200,000 health. And my support station heals me for roughly 12,000 health a second. So in theory, you would say that this would heal my character up from 0 to 100 health in around 16.5 seconds. In reality though, because of the inconsistent healing rate, it takes an average of 22 seconds in this case, meaning that the actual healing rate was somewhere closer to 9,000 HP a second. That's a 25% decrease. This probably has to do with the change to the support stations that was introduced in patch 1.6, where they decided to not allow players to be healed from support stations more than once per second to prevent the mass stacking of support stations in Last Stand. However, there is something off with the timing here, because even with a single support station, the healing oftentimes does not apply to the player. Oh, and also because of this change, strong support stations often get nullified by weaker ones, since the weaker support station will heal the player, causing even more potential healing to be lost. Support stations are just in a really bad spot right now, which is why I wouldn't recommend using them for anything else than blowing them up with the Master Mod. Running close to a wall and trying to place a deployable by instant casting it will oftentimes cause the character to not place down the deployable because the game thinks that there's no space for it, resulting in a lot of frustrating moments where the player just ends up mashing the button with nothing happening. If you move through a load zone of any kind in the game while any of your deployable skills, such as an auto turret or a support station, is still active, the game will automatically put the skill back on cooldown for you. However, trying to place the skill again when the cooldown is ready will result in the agent performing the animation without actually putting the deployable skill down, resulting in players being unable to use that skill for a very long time. It doesn't last forever though. Players are able to use their skill again when the original deployable would have ran out and the cooldown would have been back for that skill had it not been automatically reset by the game. This leads me to believe that the cooldown reset when moving through a load zone only happens on the client side of the game, while on the server side nothing happens, so the game still thinks that the support station is active. That's why you can't place it. If you do a combat roll while instant casting the defibrillator, the player does not receive the healing over time effect that the defibrillator comes with. If you do a combat roll into a first aid defibrillator that is already on the ground, placed by someone else or by yourself, the player will not receive the healing over time effect. If you drop down from an object into a first aid defibrillator already placed there on the floor by either yourself or someone else, the player will not receive the healing over time effect. If you are on fire or disrupted and run into a first aid defibrillator already placed on the floor either by yourself or by someone else, the player will not receive the healing over time effect. If you have received the healing over time effect from a defibrillator first aid and another teammate shoots another first aid defibrillator at you, the healing over time effect will be replaced, even if the second healing over time effect is a lot weaker. this can cause a lot of effective healing to be lost. Players are able to proc Triage multiple times with the same first aid skill if different teammates enter the first aid radius with at least 1 second in between them. This is because Triage has an internal proc cooldown of 1 second. But this can allow players to get a 45% cooldown reduction on their skills with just one first aid. The support station works in the exact opposite way, where no matter how many players enter it, it only procs Triage once. This leads me to believe that one of them is not working as intended, and my money is on the first aid skill because that's just broken. If you equip Triage, Critical Save and Adrenaline all at the same time and pop a medkit in your last health segment, Triage will proc on every other tick of healing over time effect that the medkit gives you. This usually results in 4 or even 5 procs, meaning that even without healing any teammates, this can reduce your skills by up to 75%. The Soda consumable gives you 43% skill haste, while the description says that it will reduce the cooldowns by only 30%. This is probably something that is still left over from patch 1.2 when skill haste had a different formula and when 43% skill haste would actually be equal to a 30% cooldown reduction. However, that all changed in 1.4, skill haste got a different formula then, and now it should be changed back to 30% skill haste. The Rapid Chest Piece has a UI bug where it seemingly reduces all the statistics for healing skills if you look at it at the skills menu. However, this is only a UI bug, as after some testing it appeared that the healing numbers are actually not affected at all. Another UI bug can be found with the Nomad 4-piece. As soon as it has activated once, the buff icon for the gear set underneath the health bar disappears. The Nomad 4-piece can still work afterwards, but players just won't be able to tell when it is ready and when it is not, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of the set if you ask me. Tactician stacks are instantly lost if the Tactician player uses a mobile cover as a skill. The player doesn't even have to sit on the mobile cover himself, it can be any one of his teammates. As long as there is someone sitting on the mobile cover, any stacks gained are lost instantly. Final Measure diffuses all friendly grenades as well as your own grenades. This also procs the 8-second cooldown that the 4-piece comes with, which means that any hostile grenades coming your way within that time frame will not be diffused. You can get up to 37.5% extra critical hit chance through the Adept talent. If your skill cooldowns are low enough to activate Adept before the previous Adept proc has depleted, Adept will be refreshed, but the 7.5% critical hit chance will stack with itself, meaning that it will add 7.5% to 7.5% critical hit chance, resulting in 15% critical hit chance. And you can do this up to 4 times, resulting in that 37.5% crit chance. The 30% movement speed that the Survivor Link is supposed to give doesn't work. The players will get the damage mitigation, but they will not move any faster upon activation. Smart Cover doesn't work on all the cover pieces in the game. 2 places in the Dark Zone where it doesn't work, for instance, is on this wall at the intersection close to the refueling station and on these walls in an alleyway underneath the Morgan Library. I've brought up this issue before where I showed the pit as an example, which seems to be fixed by now, but a lot of walls still haven't been fixed, so I'm actually fearing that all of these have to be manually adjusted wall per wall. That's gonna be a pain. The One is non-talent can still bug out your weapon. If it procs at the same time that you try to reload your weapon, it causes the player to be unable to reload their weapon and also unable to shoot their weapon, even if there's plenty of ammo still left over in the magazine. If you use fire bullets with the One is non-talent, the talent actually procs twice for each headshot, meaning that in theory you have an infinite magazine as long as you keep landing headshots. If you share medicine at the same time that you consume it in survival, the medicine will drop to the ground. The player will not get the effect that the medicine gives you, but his medicine intake will still go on cooldown, meaning that even if you have medicine to stop the disease, you will not be able to use it until the cooldown goes back to 0. Macro usage on semi-automatic weapons has been fixed, but macro usage on automatic weapons has not been fixed. The way this works is that you macro your mouse button to manually press the fire button faster than the fire rate of the weapon. This will actually cause the automatic weapons in the game to surpass their automatic fire rate, resulting in the player having much higher damage than intended. Players on PC can press backspace to make their characters walk slowly. Now if they do this while having auto walk enabled, they can spam the shift button to run at higher speeds than you would otherwise be able to. This button combination of backspace, X and then a whole lot of shift spamming can also be macroed to the sprint key to be used in mid-combat, making it extremely difficult to finish off players that have low health using this exploit to avoid damage. It's very similar to the sidestep movement exploit, which is also still in the game. And that is all that I have to share for you today. This is a list of all the bugs or exploits, if you don't want to count the last couple of things on the list as bugs that can have quite an impact on gameplay, and of course that I know about. I'm pretty sure that these are not all the bugs. If you actually go through the list, you will notice that pretty much over half of them have to do with healing and cooldowns in one way or another, and that is because, well, I kind of play a lot of support with the first aid and the support station as my skills of choice. So naturally, I figured out a lot more bugs about these two skills than about the others in the game. If there are any big things that I missed though, make sure to let me know. I've only been back at the game for just a few days. I tried to really do my research. I've done a lot of testing to make sure that all of these are consistent and even tried to figure out what the causes are behind a lot of these. But I still wouldn't bet my money on saying that I got them all. I'm pretty sure some more stuff will pop up over the upcoming days, especially if everybody shares what they know right now. Anyway, I hope this video is going to help somebody one way or another, either the developers with fixing it or you guys with making sure that these things will not mess up your gameplay. And yeah, I will see you guys later, or like they say in the Netherlands, zie je later.